And now you might think that there's a disconnect between Hitler, like, hey, we're proud, we're fighting to the end, and this is the way the Germans are, and this is the way we are, we're superior. And that the guys on the ground now, they're just beat down, and so maybe they're just weak, right? And they're just giving up. You might think that. This will give you a little indication that that's the wrong thought. On 1 February, the news spread among us that Paulus had capitulated with his staff and the 2 southern segments of the pocket and gone into captivity. So the leader just surrendered. At the last moment, he had been promoted to field marshal. This promotion in the hour of the final catastrophe was grotesque. It was simply a gesture of thanks from above and a goodbye. So Hitler thought Paulus was going to die. Yeah. Well, he didn't. Paulus surrendered. But the unhappy field marshal did not set the example of heroism expected of him from the top. The German papers broadcasts later tried to spread the impression in the style of Göring's speech that in the face of overwhelming superiority, the field marshal had burned his secret papers and that the generals lying behind their machine guns had fought to the end. Furthermore, after the catastrophe, German magazines lied to the German people with faked pictures showing such heroic scenes. But the truth of the matter was something quite else. We calculated that more than 15 generals and their staffs had gone into captivity from the southern and central pockets. Soon the Moscow radio gave details of numbers and names. I was only to learn later that some of these generals had gone into captivity with neatly packed suitcases and plentiful baggage. They simply stopped fighting and gave themselves up to the victor without any further consideration for the fate of the remaining battle groups. The last request of the field marshal had been that the Russians should treat him as a private citizen. With this, he had resigned the official role he had formerly played in the military political interests of the Supreme Commander and, as a broken man, laid down his marshalship. He was driven away in a closed car and no longer needed to see the appalling misery of his sacrificed army. So there's no disconnect. The troops on the ground were right. These leaders were liars, weak, and they had no problem pursuing glory with someone else's ass, but they weren't ready to do it with their own.